Welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Ritchie. Good to be with you. We got a lot on the agenda today. Breaking down news of the day with me, my contributor, none other than Mr. Elliott Morgan. Always fascinating to have his analysis on the show. Top story of the day. Here we go. According to newly released documents from the government, prison guards responsible for the death of Epstein somehow. Well, that was the initial story, kind of. But now they have new compelling information. Put it up for mass. All right, so here we go. Prison guards involved in the cover-up of Epstein's death. Question mark. One of the prison guards of Jeffrey Epstein Googled the sex predator minutes before he was found allegedly dead, and also made a mysterious $5,000 cash deposit 10 days before the predator's jail cell alleged suicide or unalive. New Department of Justice documents reveal. Let's go to Tova Noel. Ms. Noel was one of the two Metropolitan Correctional Center workers accused of falsifying records to say they checked on Epstein throughout the night before his August 10th, 2019 unaliving. The guards were fired, but criminal charges against both were later dropped. Noel Googled, quote, latest on Epstein in jail at 5:42 a.m. and then again at 5:52 a.m., less than 40 minutes before her colleague, correctional officer Michael Thomas, found the disgraced financier dead in his cell by, well, hanging, according to the report, 6:30 a.m. According to an FBI record of Noel's internet search history that night, which has been provided. Earlier that shift, Noel, who's 37, by the way, shopped for furniture online and snoozed on the job instead of making the mandated checks on Epstein every 30 minutes, while Thomas perused motorcycles, prosecutors said. Now, before I continue, we do have more information. Before I continue, let's be very clear, okay? They want you to look at these guards. They want you to look at incompetence as somehow conspiracy. I want you to be very clear about the framing of this. It's Epstein, okay? Epstein. You put two individuals who are known as slackers. I have to say it correctly. They are not high-profile guards, meaning they do not typically work a detail like this. Maybe they were there because they have a tendency to be a little, not there on the job. I'm speculating. There's more. Earlier that shift, Noel, 37, shopping for furniture, when questioned during her sworn statement by the DOJ, this was in 2021, Noel denied Googling Epstein. Quote, I don't remember doing that, she claimed, according to a transcript. She said FBI records were not accurate. I don't recall looking him up. Noel, she also claimed to investigators that everyone at the Manhattan Federal Lockup failed to do rounds and falsified records about it. Quote, I've never worked in the special housing unit. What, ma'am? Say that again. I've never worked in the special housing unit and actually done rounds every 30 minutes, she told investigators. I've never worked this detail before. Why did you all put a 37-year-old who has never worked a special unit detail before on Epstein? DOJ, your answers warrant more questions. There's more. Meanwhile, Chase Bank. Chase Bank flagged cash deposits in Noel's bank account in a suspicious activity report to the FBI in November 2019. Another file from the DOJ revealed a total of 12 deposits began in April 2018, the bank said, and culminated in the largest deposit of $5,000 July 30th, 2019, the records show. The files only contain Noel's bank records beginning in December 2018. They show 7 cash deposits totaling $11,880. Noel started working at the special housing unit where Epstein had been held beginning July 7, 2019, just weeks before his alleged death. So let me get this straight. You have a rookie placed on one of the most high-profile details in American history. The individual happens to have connections to the then president of the United States, multi-billionaires across the country and outside of the country, connected to politicians, CEOs, financiers. You put a 37-year-old on this, okay? All right. She has some kind of internal bank thing happening that is flagged mysteriously around the same time. An internal FBI briefing, also released in the DOJ files, reveals the agency thought Noel was likely the mysterious orange shape spotted in a blurry surveillance video near Epstein's cell around 10:40 p.m. that night. Quote, at approximately 10:40 p.m., a correctional officer believed to be Tova Noel carried linen or inmate clothing up to L tier. Last time any correctional officer approached the only entrance to the SHU tier, the agency wrote, Epstein apparently hanged himself with strips of orange cloth. Now they're saying she did it. Now they're saying she provided. Come on, man. Okay. In a sworn statement, Noel, who was working a double shift that day on the highest profile inmate in the United States, told investigators she saw Epstein alive, quote, somewhere around after 10, and that she, quote, never gave out linen ever or clothing to inmates because that's done the shift before. She testified she didn't know why Epstein had extra linen in his cell. The other guard on duty was sleeping between 10 p.m. and midnight, she said. A prison employee entering the area of Epstein's cell alone would be a policy violation, workers have said. Let me tell you what the Epstein class is working so hard to prevent you from seeing. Put them up. The Justice Department on Thursday released previously unseen documents from the Epstein files that included information from interviews the FBI conducted with a woman from South Carolina. That woman made allegations against Epstein and against Donald Trump. She alleged that she was assaulted by Trump and bit his private parts in retaliation to this assault. According to the allegation, this took place in the 1980s when she was between the ages of 13 and 15 years of age. After an initial media report revealed the missing documentation, the DOJ said in a statement that an internal review had determined that the batch of 15 files in question had previously been, quote, incorrectly coded as duplicative and not released in compliance with the Epstein Files Transparency Act. Now, while they cite protocol dysfunction of a 37-year-old named Ms. Knoll, they admit to significant statutory noncompliance themselves, stating that it was an administrative error because of a coding issue. Thus, the initial documents were mistakenly withheld. Trump didn't like that I was a boy girl, is the quote from the interview. The woman told investigators, referencing a tomboy. there were other people present in the room, according to the files. But they left at Trump's request. She remembered that Trump told her something to the effect of, quote, "Let me teach you how little girls are supposed to be," end quote. Then he unzipped his pants and put her head down to his penis. This is the testimony of the victim. She, quote, bit the ish out of it, and Trump, quote, struck her, end quote, saying something to the effect of, quote, "Get this little B word the hell out of here," according to the interview. This is what they're trying to tuck. This is what they're trying to hide. This is what they're trying to make you pivot away from. The guards, mysterious money, deposits. No, this is the story. There's more. After an initial media report, um, we have now this information. Trump didn't like the fact that he was dealing with a tomboy, according to the allegation. The woman claimed she did bite Trump once again because he disgusted her. He had money. It reeked off of him. She said, now remember, the 1980s, Donald Trump is in different contexts to this 13 to 15-year-old. So she's making these conclusions based on her understanding at that time, okay? She noted that Trump appeared jealous of Epstein, okay? Though at some point, quote, they ended up on level playing field. She recalled that Trump and Epstein would sometimes use terms like fresh meat or untainted and not jaded when referring to girls. The women claimed Epstein's associates harassed her for years after the abuse ended, sending her numerous death threats. In one instance, she and her mother were run off a road while driving, forcing her to remain silent. She also claimed that her mother spent time in prison due to an embezzlement conviction connected to being blackmailed by Epstein and a man named Jim Atkins, whom she identified as an employee of an Ohio university over explicit photographs that Epstein took of her during the abuse. There's more. Press Secretary Carolyn Levitt said in a statement, quote, "These are completely baseless allegations backed by zero credible evidence from a sadly disturbed woman who has an extensive criminal history. The total baselessness of these accusations is also supported by the obvious fact that Joe Biden's Department of Justice knew about them 4 years ago and did nothing with them because they knew President Trump did absolutely nothing wrong. As we have said countless times, President Trump has been totally exonerated by the release of the Epstein files." Completely untrue. He's been anything but exonerated. As a matter of fact, every single release provides more accusatory elements against him. He's being alleged of serious felonies. That is not an exoneration. They're just saying it because they're hoping people will pay attention to the statement more so than the content and context of the interview and the witness. So that's how they've played politics, fast and loose. It doesn't matter what the truth is, just cap it off with a lie and move to the next lie. And that's how they've gotten away with it. But it won't happen here. Recent reports indicate that the DOJ has only released a fraction of the Epstein files, potentially holding onto upwards of 50 terabytes that the agency has not yet disclosed. The recent releases, which include millions of pages, documents amount to roughly 300 gigabytes. That's 2% of the estimated total. 2% of the estimated total. Here's what you will not see. There's a guy, former FBI agent, who talks about this in detail on his page. I'm very thankful for this person. He says, here's what's lacking: context. It's controlled chaos. What's lacking is context, because that's intentional. So when you look at a 2% release of documentation, the 98% is the context. They have that. So they don't want you to see the context because the context is likely so damning that anyone who saw that and decided not to at least investigate thoroughly should be out of a job or worse, held criminally negligent. All right. Your brother, thoughts here?
I mean, there's so many thoughts. One, I think it's incredibly rich that Caroline Levitt gets up and says that, this is someone that you shouldn't listen to because they have an extensive criminal record. I can think of another person in the story who also has a pretty extensive criminal record, but we're told to listen to him all the time. I don't really understand the idea that these files were just duplicates. That seems like a very weird excuse, unless potentially they were using AI or something, trying to, give them the benefit of the doubt. But broadly speaking, I think there's like two ways you can look at this. One is the conspiracy route, which I don't at this point think there's anything wrong going down that route. And then the other route is incompetence. But I don't think those are mutually exclusive right here. Right now, I think we're seeing both a conspiratorial aspect and we're seeing it combined with one of the most incompetent administrations that has ever existed, maybe the most in the history of the United States. And so if you look at all of this, I think from Trump's perspective, rather than, all of us trying to be like little detectives, then it becomes a lot easier, I think, to understand. This is an individual in power whose power was being threatened by the existence of Jeffrey Epstein. That alone is going to raise questions that, like you're saying, I don't think they're ever going to be able to get away from.
Yeah. The truth will come.
Yeah.
And truth travels at its own speed because it's eternal. It's always there. A lie travels fast because it has a limited time to live. And so the truth is coming. All right, we'll bring updates as they develop. We got more on the other side. Stick and stay. Indisputable is still the fastest growing news show in America compared to CNN, Fox News, and 30 other networks. We tell the truth on Indisputable because the truth is indisputable. We go places that other news media outlets refuse to go. When there were human rights abuses happening at the Victorville prison, guards and members of the community contacted us.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
It really doesn't take much to be a trusted voice. All it takes is to be fearless, report on matters, be an advocate. I called it the bullpen intentionally because it's a place of preparation. We present individuals who may have an opposing view, so we debate. Sometimes we interview individuals because their stories deserve to be heard. A survivor of significant police misconduct and his attorney. We covered this story earlier. Let me remind you of the horror of one man being shot at damn near 100 times by the police. We take time on this show to showcase the temper tantrums of Karens in the wild. We do this not because we want to see people's emotional outbursts in public, but because these incidents are emblematic of a bigger societal issue taking place across the nation, and it has to be checked. My friend, my big homie, attorney at law, Benjamin Crump.
I just want to thank you, man. Educated, articulate brothers like yourself speak truth to power. It makes a great difference in changing the landscape in America. So
listen, no matter what you do, don't allow the politics of ideology to evaporate the soul that still exists inside of you. They don't stop, I don't stop. Racism won't stop, I won't stop. Systemic bias won't stop, I won't stop. People still need health care, so I won't stop. People still need criminal justice systems reform, so I won't stop. You won't stop either. All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. We got a lot of comments. Greatly appreciate everyone for joining us in the combo. Marcia Grenard Davis 432. Welcome to Indisputable. Thank you for becoming a member. And Dr. Squiddies, she worked a double, but lenders are giving out the shift before. So how long are shifts, and when are the linen changes, and are they when she was on her double? These are all verifiable, unanswered questions. She's a slacker, man. She admitted to being a slacker. Okay, she admitted that. She also said everybody else is a slacker too. So, DB Hawk 3, thank you for that. This is too much of on-water conspiracy theories. I can guarantee you the 37-year-old child is not a part of it. I promise you that. I'm talking like an old man. She's an adult, but she's 37 years old with a mysterious $5,000 deposit who happened to be Googling while at work. Yeah, she's not involved. That's my opinion. RJO Network, and yet he was voted in as president. Yep. Dr. Squiddies, I'm not saying she was or wasn't involved knowingly, but she was definitely involved somehow. I think she was involved. It's called a patsy. I think she was involved by way of being set up in a way herself. She never should have been working that shift. The highest profile inmate in the United States of America should have guards comparable to the level of risk this individual actually is for flight and everything else. Okay. All right. We got a hell of a story. If I told you that a bigoted person attacked somebody with an axe, you would think, okay, attempted murder, perhaps, right? Well, not for this guy. He got a sweetheart deal, put him up for a mass. Brian Patterson, a man was sentenced to 4 years in prison for a violent, racist assault last year when he attacked someone with an axe. Patterson pleaded guilty to racially aggravated assault and causing danger to life with an axe, and was given a 4-year prison sentence with a 2-year extension period for an attack that took place last September. Okay. Now, you see the picture. Keep that picture up, Jordan. That axe, as he's about to throw it in this picture, he goes all the way back easily. When he attacks someone with that level of velocity, it can equal death. Period. According to the British Transport Police, the assault happened at a railway station in Edinburgh, Scotland, September 5th, 2025. Just before midnight, police say that while Patterson was walking through the station, he began following someone. So there's no provocation. He began following someone. He started racially harassing and abusing the someone he's following. He also aimed sexually derogatory statements at the victim's friends. When the victim approached the escalator, he turned to confront Patterson. The victim told police that Patterson immediately got close to him and reeked of alcohol. Quote, Patterson grew aggressive and began to threaten the victim, who turned around and got on the escalator to leave. Patterson continued to threaten him before pulling an axe from within his clothes and hitting the victim on the side of the head. Police wrote in a release. Police say the victim was unaware that he'd been struck with an axe, but suffered a bump on his head and cuts on his neck as he watched Patterson tuck something into his waistband and run away. Officers finally located Patterson nearly a month after the attack, so he was on the run, arrested him on October 1st. While he was in custody, Patterson reportedly asked the police if the victim he supposedly attacked was all right. Detective Constable Donna Davana said, quote, "I'm extremely pleased to see Patterson jailed for his vile and premeditated attack. Patterson's brazen and horrific actions could have resulted in a man losing his life." That's right, detective. That's why we would call that attempted murder. Okay. The detective goes on to say, only to luck that the consequences of the attack were not more severe. She continued, when under caution and asking about the state of his victim, it quickly became clear that he really only cared about himself and showed utter indignation. I hope that regardless of how crass and heartless Patterson has shown to be, this can bring the victim some comfort and closure. Why did you give the man only 4 years for attempted murder? And it's an attempted murder in the most vile way possible. It's an attempted murder by way of racism. By way of racism. Attempted murder by way of racism. None of the facts are in question. Not a single fact is in question with this case. Was it racially motivated? Check. Could he have killed this individual? Check. Should he know or have known, should he have known that possibly using an axe on somebody would have resulted in death? Check. All of these are prerequisites to attempted murder. But you charge him with a racially motivated assault. He gets 4 years. He gets out early on probation. Why? All right. Dear brother, thoughts here?
Yeah, it's absolutely horrific. I don't know. I mean, if you're leaving for the night to go have a drink, maybe leave the axe at home. Just grab the cell phone and the keys. I don't think any good's going to come from that. Also, 4 years. I mean, I don't know how it works over there legally, but a concern I have specific, in addition to the fact that this is an incredibly sweetheart deal, 4 years seems like a really opportune amount of time to become even more radicalized. Now, I don't know if that'll be the case. I certainly hope it's not. But when you allow someone to go into that system for just long enough, for all of these crazy ideas that they've been festering for so long to just sort of ferment in their minds, I worry that you're actually doing more harm than good. So yeah, he should absolutely be locked up and potentially have that combined with some kind of mental health counseling, because this is a situation that did not need to happen and in any scenario.
Yeah. And stop drinking.
Yeah.
All right. We'll bring updates if there's an update to bring. Okay. A cop makes a racist post, gets suspended rightfully, turns around after the suspension and sues for being suspended because he's racist. Welcome to Trump America. Put it up for a mass. Okay. All right. Don't be distracted by the baby he's holding. That's on purpose. This is about him. A Tennessee cop who was suspended without pay last year for posting a racist comment on Facebook is suing for back pay and damages, claiming that his First Amendment rights were violated since he was off duty on his personal computer. Quote, yeah, I think if the government pays reparations, this is the quote that he made. Yeah, I think if the government pays reparations, then I want a refund for the slaves my ancestors lost, wrote Memphis Police Sergeant Brandon Leah on the 26th of February, 2025. So Brandon, so here's the difference, sir. See, those who were enslaved were victims. Your ancestors who were enslavers, well, they're the perps. You're a cop, you should understand the lingo. One is the victim, the other is the perpetrator. One seeks to have justice done for them, and then we should seek to have justice done to the perpetrator. You're a cop, you should know the difference here between the criminal and the victim. Understand? You should have been suspended. Hell, you should have been fired. There's more. For the record, just a reminder, because obviously Brandon doesn't know his history. Slave owners actually did receive reparations, ironically. To ease slave owners' pain, the District of Columbia Emancipation Act paid those loyal to the Union up to $300 for every enslaved person freed. That's right, slave owners got reparations. Enslaved African Americans got nothing for their generations of stolen bodies, snatched children, and expropriated labor, other than their mere release from legal bondage. Lincoln appointed a board of commissioners to oversee the process of compensation, headed by the North Carolina abolitionist and New York Times reporter Daniel Reeves Goodloe. The board reviewed more than 1,000 slaveholders' petitions to claim more than 3,000 enslaved people, close to the entirety of the dwindling population. Most of the petitioners received the full amount allowed. The largest individual payout was $18,000 for 69 enslaved men, women, and children. Although the District of Columbia Emancipation Act marked the only time the federal government would compensate slave owners, there is a long history of slave owners requesting and receiving indemnification for the loss of their chattel. Now back to Brandon Sargent. Sargent, who has worked for the Memphis Police Department for 25 years. 25 years. Claims in his lawsuit that he was only joking when he posted a comment, describing it as a satirical comment on a parody account that comedically addressed the topic of slavery and government reparation. You're a smooth one. But the joke fell flat on many residents of the majority Black city that became a national focal point of police abuse against Black people in 2023 following the brutal beating death of Tyree Nichols. We remember that, we reported on it. According to his lawsuit, following plaintiff's post, MPD received 2 or 3 citizen complaints regarding plaintiff's comment. The citizens who complained about plaintiff's comment had been able to see the plaintiff's Facebook page that he worked for the Memphis Police Department. Instead of reaching out to plaintiff to have a discussion regarding his comment, these citizens contacted MPD to express their offense to plaintiff's comment and sought for plaintiff to be disciplined by the MPD. MPD imposed a total of 15-day suspension without pay and required plaintiff to undergo sensitivity training ordering him off work from April 25th through May 15th, 2025. Several white residents defended the sergeant. Let me correct it. Several white racist residents defended the sergeant. I corrected it for the Atlanta Black Star. With one person telling local media that, quote, nobody can take a joke, end quote. But the city's Black residents did not find it funny. Quote, we hold people in leadership positions at a high level. He should have said that in the privacy of his own home. Now posted it on Facebook. That's right, it's a public venue. A Black resident told local media. The sergeant deactivated his page following the blowback, so it's not clear to what post he was referring to when he made the comment. Now, I will say this, understand, being a police officer is a little bit different than other jobs. If you are a cop, you are in a position of public trust, significant public trust, you literally have a license to kill. You have a license to kill. They give you a gun, they give you a badge, they give you authority, and they give you the license to kill if necessary. If you're going into a particular situation with unearthed bias inside of you, and we can see that bias being played out in significant ways on your social media account, why would we expect you not to have bias in dealing with a Black community? All right, dear brother, thoughts here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a horrible statement. Also, what stuck out to me is that he made it during Black History Month, which I think that makes it extra insulting. And I think what is additionally insulting is turning around and going, oh, I was just joking. I'm actually a bit of a comedy writer on the side, because last I checked, jokes do tend to have like a punchline or like a misdirection, and there's no punchline or misdirection there. There's no humor there. I think the reality is that it's not that people can't understand jokes. It's also that a lot of these racists don't genuinely understand how jokes work. So they just use it as a defense in order to say whatever racist kind of crap they want, because they're so stuck in this like binary thinking that they go, oh, okay, well, if you're going to get reparations, and I also need to get something, because that's how far their critical thinking skills go. So it's incredibly gross. Also, my understanding is a lot of it also was about the land that the slave owners were allowed to keep, which then got passed down generation after generation, land that was not accessible or was not owned by the enslaved people who were later freed. So the idea of reparations, I think, maybe next Black History Month, they could research it a little bit more and use that opportunity to educate themselves rather than turning into like really horrible Jimmy Fallon impersonators.
There you go. He tried it though. All right.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see the affirmative defense in the case. We got more on the other side. Indisputable, stick and stay. Indisputable is still the fastest growing news show in America compared to CNN, Fox News, and 30 other networks. We tell the truth on Indisputable because the truth is indisputable. We go places that other news media outlets refuse to go. When there were human rights abuses happening at the Victorville prison, guards and members of the community contacted us.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
It really doesn't take much to be a trusted voice. All it takes is to be fearless, report on matters, be an advocate. I called it the bullpen intentionally because it's a place of preparation. We present individuals who may have an opposing view, so we debate. Sometimes we interview individuals because their stories deserve to be heard. A survivor of significant police misconduct and his attorney. We covered this story earlier, and to remind you of the horror of one man being shot at damn near 100 times by the police. We take time on this show to showcase the temper tantrums of Karens in the wild. We do this not because we want to see people's emotional outbursts in public, but because these incidents are emblematic of a bigger societal issue taking place across the nation, and it has to be checked. My friend, my big homie, attorney at law, Benjamin Crump.
I just want to thank you, man. Educated, articulate brothers like yourself speak truth to power. It makes a great difference in changing the landscape in America. So
listen, no matter what you do, don't allow the politics of ideology to evaporate the soul that still exists inside of you. They don't stop, I don't stop. Racism won't stop, I won't stop. Systemic bias won't stop, I won't stop. People still need health care, so I won't stop. People still need criminal justice systems reform, so I won't stop. You won't stop either. All right, welcome back. Good to be with you. We have a few comments. I will read as many as I can. I'm kind of pressed for time. We have Velvet Goldmine says, first of all, not all white people own slaves. That is correct. Check. Secondly, slave owners already received reparations. Check. Dr. Squiddies, what a surprise. Another cop who doesn't understand how the law works. You have the freedom to say whatever you want. You don't have the right to a job working with the state. That is correct. You don't have that right. As a matter of fact, if you're a cop and they order you to take a lie detector test, in most jurisdictions you have to. Now, that's different than if you work for, let's say, a private company. They can't force you to do so. But being in a position of that level of public trust, an amount of, well, trust is required. Okay? All right. I got something for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Excuse me, you're the one that said it looks like I need a job and that,
Yeah.
Are you mentally ill or something? Why are you running from the camera? Like, what's good with you? You was just talking mad to me, and now you're running away. Look.
No. Nope. Put it up. I'm going to break this down as much as I can. So according to the Post, a white woman made a rude comment to a black shopper at a Boston sporting goods store. After telling the fellow shopper, who goes by the name Low-Tech on social media, that he looked unemployed, he pulled out his phone camera and sought to get the incident on record, or at least her commentary. He captioned the Instagram post, "I got attacked." So we're going to keep this picture up just for a moment. Number one, is not against the law to record someone in a publicly accessible place. As a matter of fact, if you are outside of your home, you are likely being recorded by somebody. Ring camera doorbell, traffic cameras, and cameras inside of stores and outside of stores. So you're being recorded, okay? A person recording you inside of a store, not a violation. If you said this statement to the man and he's questioning, why did you say this to him? If, and this is just generally speaking, if you don't believe you've done anything wrong, and if you do not have what we call evidence of a guilty conscience, you don't run away from the camera or the question because you don't have a conscience of guilt about what you've done. Generally speaking, if you do run away from the statement or the camera after making such a blazing inappropriate comment, we suspect that you knew what you were doing. Okay. Dear brother, I'm going to you for the depth psychology part of this. Sir, what say you?
You know, I was thinking about when I grew up, I was a young teenager and I watched a horror film called The Ring. And it involves a girl/woman crawling out of a TV with hair kind of drenched over her face. And then you find out she's been living in a well for a long time. So I think whatever that archetype would be, managed to somehow crawl out of the well and is living very well, going around sporting goods stores and just having a lovely time. Also, when I go into a store personally, I'm minding my own business, and I'm just trying to get in and get out. I don't understand what goes through people's brains when they walk into these stores and go, okay, you know what? I'm going to have interactions with people, let alone racist ones, let alone that kind of display. But yeah, I mean, it's an infantile, regression, and it's sad to see because these are people who walk among us. And, however many of them come from horror movies, we will never know.
That's rich. All right. We'll bring updates if there's an update to bring. Okay. Let's say you own a Chick-fil-A. Hardworking individual. You need a locksmith to do some work at the Chick-fil-A you own. Locksmith shows up, doesn't believe you own it. Why is that? Let's go to it.
I'm the owner of a Chick-fil-A. My husband works for me as my facilities and maintenance man. He handles all things facilities, including calling the vendors. I needed the locks so my restaurant doors changed. He calls the locksmith. A couple days later, the locksmith shows up. He comes in looking for the owner. I come out of the kitchen. I said, "Hi, I'm Shalita. Are you here to change the locks?" He said, "Yes. But before I do, I need to get the okay from the owner." I said, "Here's the okay." He said, "No, ma'am. I need you to go get the owner so I can make sure it is okay with him for me to get started." I said, "I am the owner." He said, "The person I talked to on the phone was a man." I said, "That's amazing and irrelevant. Two things can be true." He said, "Well, I'm going to have to call and confirm." I said, "What, my LLC or my identity?" By this time, y'all, his fingers in my face as if to tell me to shh. He is on the phone with my husband. He said, "Hi, sir. I am here at your restaurant. I just want to confirm with you I can go ahead and get started." He said, "Sir, that's not my restaurant. That's my wife's restaurant. Her name is Shalita. Is she not there?" He hangs up in silence and in shock. He went from confident contractor to Windows 95 error screen. He said, "All right, ma'am, I can get the okay from you." I said, "You could, but you won't. I will pay someone else to accomplish that task today. The task I have for you is, remember moving forward. It is a lot cheaper to show respect than it is to lose out on a contract or an opportunity. It's been a pleasure to serve you."
As they say at Chick-fil-A, have a great day. Put it up full mess. Go ahead, sister. I ain't mad at you. You know, usually when we cover Chick-fil-A on Indisputable, it's not in the positive context. So you are helping Chick-fil-A significantly today. So this is Miss Shalita Meadows. Miss Meadows is a franchise owner of a Chick-fil-A in Chesapeake, Virginia. Ms. Meadows' TikTok has since garnered over 3.3 million likes and a bevy of comments applauding how she handled the incident. Quote, "I'm getting Olivia Pope vibes," one person wrote. A second added, "That's a Chick-fil-A I gladly purchase from." You see, Chick-fil-A? Meadows started working at Chick-fil-A in 2009 and eventually worked her way up the ladder until she owned her first Chick-fil-A in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, in 2020. She's been at her current location in Virginia since 2024. Quote, "I've been with Chick-fil-A for a while, clearly," she says before reflecting on the viral moment. "In that moment inside, I was definitely not necessarily upset. It just reminded me, quote, I'm gonna have to show up confidently and let them know what time it is," she says. "This is something that happens daily. People are in shock when I say I'm the owner operator or they don't believe me," end quote. On a brighter note, Meadows says foot traffic has picked up considerably since the post. And some visitors have mentioned the clip to her during their visit. She says all the attention on her Chick-fil-A location has been overwhelming in a positive way. And I will say this, I know some franchise owners also, and they are hard workers. People assume that they make millions and millions of dollars. They don't, all right? They have a career and they have to show up and they have to manage. So when it says owner operator, that's what it means. It means owner operator. They are there, they are working, and typically they are the hardest working person inside of their facility. Now, I want to also say this about Chick-fil-A. I worked for Chick-fil-A when I was a teenager. I started working for Chick-fil-A at 15 years of age. And it was ironic because I was caught up in the juvenile justice system. I was a foster kid, and I was ordered by Judge Marr of DeKalb County to get a job. I could either get a job or I had to go back to juvenile. So I applied for Chick-fil-A at Spelman College campus and got hired. And I worked at that Chick-fil-A during that entire summer. And the guy who was our manager was very nice, very decent human being, very thankful for the encouragement that he always gave me. All right, dear brother, thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, there's a mix of, I guess, racism and sexism going on
Oh,
here.
yeah.
I just wish there were more people who responded the way this woman did. I mean, I was sort of captivated by what she was saying. I mean, it was almost like a speech mixed with slam poetry, mixed with a little bit of humor, and she had the poise and the confidence. And it's like this. I mean, I wish I had that kind of quality about me when I was flustered, the way I'm sure she was. So kudos to her.
Yeah, and the irony is, if a man would have been there, regardless of who the man is,
yeah,
it seems as if the locksmith would have been like, oh, yeah, you're the guy. You're obviously
good.
the owner. Let's go ahead and do this. All right. We got more on the other side. Indisputable, stick and stay. Indisputable is still the fastest growing news show in America compared to CNN, Fox News, and 30 other networks. We tell the truth on Indisputable because the truth is indisputable. We go places that other news media outlets refuse to go. When there were human rights abuses happening at the Victorville prison, guards and members of the community contacted us.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
It really doesn't take much to be a trusted voice. All it takes is to be fearless, report on matters, be an advocate. I called it the bullpen intentionally because it's a place of preparation. We present individuals who may have an opposing view, so we debate. Sometimes we interview individuals because their stories deserve to be heard. A survivor of significant police misconduct and his attorney. We covered this story earlier and to remind you of the horror of one man being shot at damn near 100 times by the police. We take time on this show to showcase the temper tantrums of Karens in the wild. We do this not because we want to see people's emotional outbursts in public, but because these incidents are emblematic of a bigger societal issue taking place across the nation, and it has to be checked. My friend, my big homie, attorney at law, Benjamin Crump.
I just want to thank you, man. Educated, articulate brothers like yourself speak truth to power. It makes a great difference in changing the landscape in America. So
listen, no matter what you do, don't allow the politics of ideology to evaporate the soul that still exists inside of you. They don't stop, I don't stop. Racism won't stop, I won't stop. Systemic bias won't stop, I won't stop. People still need health care, so I won't stop. People still need criminal justice systems reform, so I won't stop. You won't stop either. What up? Welcome back. Always good to be with you. A lot of comments. We'll read as many as I can. Angel Brown 2598 says, hello, beautiful people. The thing that blows my mind, it's only about the gas prices. Wow. I'm talking about Trump supporters are really, really upset about this. All right. We actually have some reporting on it. Miss Cardio Queen. Why is it difficult to have a woman as the owner of a fast food restaurant? Exactly. And miles per hour. I see what you did there. Imagine having to go back to your boss and explain why you're not bringing in the money today. All right, that's right. Yeah, boss, I made a big mistake today. Thought the gal wasn't the owner. All right. So Trump voters completely disgusted with Donald Trump. Not over Epstein, over these high damn gas prices. Here it is.
Do you regret your vote right now?
Well, between him and her, I thought he was the better choice, but honestly, I miss my Uncle Joe. I was a nobody and I was balling then. Now, I couldn't even tell you. I couldn't even show you $5 in my pocket.
We spoke to Trump voters here in Florida who are ticked off about the fact that the gas prices in the state have gone up by an average of about 60 cents within just a week.
I would just wish he'd keep up on his campaign promise and say he was going to put it under $3. He'd end that war so fast. But here it is, 5 years later, helping his buddy out get his more money. And then never mind charging us Americans all sorts of money for fuel that you just stole from Venezuela.
And those gas prices are getting higher because of volatile oil prices due to the war in Iran, a war that these Trump voters tell us they hope wraps up quickly.
If I could, speak to the president, I'd just encourage him to finish up this war and get us back to a safe world.
He's saying about for our safety, leave somebody alone, they won't bother you.
Hopefully this conflict over there will end, it's just unfortunate.
The overall vibe here at the gas pump amongst these Trump voters is they feel like the economy is not going well right now.
At the moment, I'm really out of work.
My hope is that it's temporary and it doesn't last for too long. That oil prices come back down. That's my hope.
We take America back. We don't even support us.
But y'all doing a lot of wishing and hoping. Put it up full mask. You wish and you hope. That, come on, man. Y'all know what's up. Stop denying it. He's a charlatan. He tricked you. Tricked you out of your money. The faster you admit it, the faster we can get over it. Never knew Trump supporters had so much hoping and wishing inside of them, but they obviously do. The state of gas prices right now, since Iran has closed the Strait of Hormuz. And by the way, you should have known this was going to happen because, well, they told you it would. Damn. The average national gas price is now $3.48 per gallon, up 48 cents since last week and 58 cents from a month ago. That's according to data from AAA. Prices are currently highest in California, where drivers are paying an average of $5.20 per gallon on Monday morning, and in Washington State, where gas has hit $4.63 per gallon. Kansas has the country's lowest average price at $2.92 for a gallon of regular. I'm old enough to remember when gas wasn't over $1. 96 cents, 98 cents. I remember when it hit over $1 and it was $1.02. And I saw the adults in my life damn near lose their over that. And they continue to go up. I also remember a summer when gas prices were at around $4 in Atlanta some years back. The reason why the strain of this is so much more pronounced is because you have inflation, meaning you're paying more for general goods and services. You also have gas prices increasing, and you have lower or less opportunity economically to make more money. You have all of these things straining the economy at the exact same time. So you feel this more than typically you would feel it. There's more. All right. The price on Brent crude, the international benchmark, briefly surged to $119.50 per barrel on Monday. It's the highest level since the summer after Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022. West Texas Intermediate, which is produced in the U.S., also soared to almost $120 per barrel at one point, but those prices fell to under $90 late Monday as markets made significant reversals after Trump told CBS News he thinks the war is very complete. And remember, these prices are set based on speculation. It's a speculative market. And so they set these prices on speculation. Well, a lot of speculation comes from American policy. And when you have someone in the White House as chaotic as Trump, that speculation can become just as, well, chaotic as well. All right. Quote, in the whole written history of the Strait, it has never been closed ever, said JP Morgan Chase analyst Natasha Kaneva. To me, it was not just the worst case scenario, it was an unthinkable scenario. Yeah. In economic terms, this is already the largest oil supply shock ever, said Nicholas Mulder, an assistant professor of history who studies the economic impacts of wars at Cornell University. As Gulf producers reduce output and shut down production, he explained. We're seeing roughly 3 to 4 times as many barrels of oil lost as during the 1973 and 1979 oil crisis. So Trump did respond to this on Truth Social. Let's put it up. Truth Social. He says, quote, if Iran does anything that stops the flow of oil within the Strait of Hormuz, they would be hit by the United States of America 20 times harder than they have been hit thus far. Additionally, we would take out easily destroyable targets that will make it virtually impossible for Iran to ever build back, he said, built back as a nation. Again, death, fire, and fury will rain upon them. But I hope and pray that it does not happen. This is a gift from the United States of America to China and all of the nations that heavily use the Hormuz Strait. Hopefully, it is a gesture that will be greatly appreciated. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. He is schizophrenic. Okay, if you really cared, Trump, you would have had a protective mechanism there prior to the attack, knowing that this is one of the opportunities that they have access to that would significantly impact not only Americans, but also American allies. Okay. All right, dear brother, thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, this war in Iran is just a disaster from basically any angle you can look at. I think what frustrates me here is there's just like a deep skepticism I have whenever you see these clips of Trump supporters getting frustrated or tearing the bumper sticker off. It's cathartic. I like seeing it. I don't know how emblematic it is of them as a voting bloc because I don't think they're in a cult at this point. I think they're in a full-blown religion. So I don't see the vast majority of them exiting that religion anytime soon. But it would be wonderful if they cared about these things or got angry about these things when they weren't things that directly impacted them only. If it only impacts your pocketbook, if it only impacts you directly, I don't think you're going to be able to make sound political decisions. And so this seems like an opportunity for them to go, okay, maybe I should zoom out here a little bit. And maybe I should not make my decisions on what one con man is saying to me that is going to somehow make my life so much better. That's not a realistic expectation. So when that happens, maybe go, okay, I was lied to. Like, let's admit it. And like you're saying, let's move on a little bit.
Yeah, there you go. Well said. All right. You want to know the truth about the war, about Iran, about the attacks? Here it is.
The United States on the opening day of the war fired 4 cruise missiles. The third site that they struck, they noticed an accumulation of human beings, people running to the site. And so they ordered the 4th missile to strike. The 4th missile went up, came down, and hit. The missile is designed to penetrate with a bunker busting capability, but there's an additional factor to this missile. Our brilliant weapons designers have concluded that the excess fuel in a Tomahawk missile at the moment of impact can actually be weaponized into a thermobaric weapon, a fuel-air explosive. And so they hit the button, turned the excess fuel into a thermobaric, and the people they saw running were the children who survived the initial attack. They went to the prayer hall with their teachers, and they asked the parents to come in and retrieve their children. Parents are on their way. So the movement you saw were survivors going into the building, teachers with them, parents come to them, and we put the 4th cruise missile in there, turned it into a thermobaric bomb, and burned these children alive. That's this war in a nutshell.
Yeah.
We don't know what we're doing. We don't know what we're targeting. And all we're doing is murdering people. And you know why this happened? Because Pete Hegseth canceled a Department of Defense directive that required a civilian mitigation team to go over each target to make sure that we weren't striking the wrong targets. He called that woke. He called that ineffective. He wanted to be the most lethal fighting force in the world. Kill, kill, kill. Well, Pete, you killed them. 170 of them. Children. You're a murderer. You're a war criminal. And so is Donald Trump. And so is every American who supports this war.
And remember, we are in partnership. America is in partnership with the war criminal, Benjamin Netanyahu, who once again has a warrant out for his arrest for crimes against humanity. That is who we are partnered with in this war. killing children. Intentional. Children. Children who were in the mode of prayer, looking for their parents, parents looking for them, and this country sends another bomb. Don't look away from this. We're complicit by force because those weapons are funded by the money they take out of our checks called taxes. We are forced to be complicit in our own and the world's oppression. It has to stop. Put it up full mass. It will stop. Scott Ritter criticized Hegseth and Trump over their conduct during the Iran strikes. Ritter, a former United States Marine Corps intelligence officer, former United Nations Special Commission weapons inspector, author, and commentator. From 1991 to 1998, Ritter helped collect intelligence about Iraqi weapons of mass destruction programs, planned inspections in Iraq to find hidden WMD capability, and led those inspections as chief inspector. He has the gravitas. He has the knowledge. He has the institutional insight. More details on Ritter's criticism of Hegseth. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has gutted the Pentagon oversight offices that would have investigated the recent strike on Iranian girls' school, a move that has degraded America's ability to protect civilians amid its largest air campaign in decades. The Pentagon chief last year slashed offices that didn't contribute to his goal of lethality, as he calls it, including the group that assists in limiting risk to civilians known as the Civilian Protection Center of Excellence. Can I tell you one of the main reasons why we have these civilian protection boards? It's not because America is somehow holy or they truly give a damn about civilian casualties in war. It is because when you start killing civilians in a country that you are at odds with, you are guaranteeing that those who emerge from that demographic, the future leaders of that nation, will be your enemies as well. You are guaranteeing that those children who survive and those parents who are dead, but the children are still here, you are guaranteeing that the next generation will be the generation that our children and our grandchildren will have to fight because of your war. So these boards mitigate that. If it's a righteous act, do it righteously, but it's not. It's nothing righteous about war. Around 200 employees who worked on the issue, including at that office, have been reduced about 90%, according to two current and former officials and a person familiar with the effort. Get rid of the people that'll watch you. Get rid of the people that will tell you no. Get rid of the people that will stop you. Get rid of the people that will challenge you to think better. Get rid of the folks that will remind you of the illegal action you are about to take. Get rid of them. And that's what Hegseth did, similar to what Trump has done. There's more. The team that handles civilian casualties at Central Command, which oversees the Middle East, has dropped from 10 to 1. Hegseth can't close the offices because they are approved by Congress, but he has managed to make them nearly inoperable. They are working around the system. According to the people, as the Pentagon investigates its responsibility in what could be the worst U.S.-led killing of civilians since 2003. Iranian state media said the strike killed about 170 children and 14 school teachers. Quote, the fact that our Secretary of Defense, that our Central Command commander cannot actually tell us whether or not they dropped a bomb in this location that is so unbelievably unacceptable, said Wes Bryant, the Pentagon's former chief of civilian harm assessments until last year. Quote, it just points even more to recklessness in this. In the entire planning and execution of this campaign, the fact that they don't have any idea, end quote, Hegseth has said, no other country takes as many precautions to ensure the U.S. is not targeting civilians, but the Pentagon chief, who has long derided the use of laws in war, this week called the military's rules of engagement, quote, stupid. Quote, we untie the hands of our war fighters to intimidate, demoralize, hunt, and kill the enemies of our country, he said at a Tuesday press conference on the U.S.-Israeli military operation. Quote, no more politically correct and overbearing rules of engagement, just common sense, maximum lethality, and authority for war fighters, end quote. The U.S. and Israel have hit more than 5,000 targets in Iran during the 11-day conflict. Hegseth said that Tuesday would be the most intense day of strikes. Meanwhile, this rumor has popped up, and Governor Newsom has had to respond to it. Wednesday, there is no imminent threat, according to the governor, to the state following reports that federal authorities had alerted state officials of unverified claims by Iranian-affiliated actors desiring to conduct potential drone strikes in California. The FBI memo sent to local law enforcement and officials in California contained unvetted and unverified information for their awareness, according to several officials who had seen it. However, Black folks on the West Coast had something to say about this potential, retaliation from Iran in California. Here it is.
Iran, wait a minute. You ain't got to hit the West Coast. West Coast ain't got nothing to do with this. We about sick and tired of this. I will speak for the entire West Coast. We have succeeded illegally from the United States, okay? Washington, Oregon, and California, we are the Pacifica. Yep, it is. Yep, we are officially the Pacifica. We ain't got nothing to do with what that got going on the East Coast.
Yes, hi. Can I speak to whoever is now in charge in Iran? Yes, I'll hold. Yes, hi. Iran, can you also patch in China and Russia? Because I'm only going to say this one time. I need everybody on the line. Yes, it's a party line. Yes, hi. Hey, everyone, listen. What the hell is going on? Yes. Exactly. But see, here's the thing, though. We don't have anything to do with that. Y'all have the direct coordinates, correct? Because it's upsetting me and my homegirls over here.
But again, Iran, you on the wrong coast, baby. The whole entire goddamn California coast, them people over there ain't with Trump either. He done terrorized them people for years and years.
They're also calling it a holy war, but I talked to JC and Sky Daddy, and they are not in this. Right, this is about money, oil, and power. Oil, they took it from Venezuela, right? Well, it's only useful if the price goes up, and now everything's going up. Yes,
We did not vote for this. We actually, quite frankly, voted heavily against it. I'm just saying, please don't hit us. We don't want nothing to do with this man. If it was up to him, we'd be militarized. So if you hit us, he don't give a He gonna applaud that. Well, they should have been a red state. So that's who you really want is them red state. Florida. Okay, don't hit nobody. Please don't hit nobody. But I'm just saying, if you gotta choose someone he cares about.
China, I'm gonna call you separately about some purses. Okay. Russia, no. Absolutely not. Directly to him. Do you hear me? Everything you know, directly to him. Okay? Iran, listen. Okay? Nothing to do with us. The blacks, yes. All right. All right, everybody. Y'all have a good night.
All right. The black delegation is on record here. The issue is, extreme if true, and obviously creates some caution, even if it's from an unverified intelligence report or officials. that have some military connection. Once again, Newsom says there's no imminent threat to California. Trump has dragged this country into an illegal war. The U.S. Constitution provides that only Congress can enact articles of war. Members of Congress, it is time to impeach. All right, dear brother, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing, I think, is just the MO of this entire administration. I think it reminds me of at the beginning of this administration last year when they brought in DOGE and made all these huge cuts to the IRS in the name of efficiency, an agency that spends about a nickel for every dollar they bring in, and for every extra dollar they get funded to them, they bring in another $6 because it allows them to go after billionaires and corporations. And so they cut all of that funding, which forces the IRS to go after the American people. Fortunately, in that scenario, at least, you're not talking about people actually dying, but it's still an example of how they are going in and just destroying the infrastructure and making things permanently bad, or at least bad for however many years to come. And it's a horrible situation. These guys are completely out of their minds. And I was just on the way here from Palm Springs. I'm in California right now. My brother was texting me going, "Are you getting out of California because of this warning?" And it's like, no, we're not. And I don't think there's any verifiable truth to it, but it's still a great example of how everything has just become so unstable as a result of this war. And I want to go back to what you were saying a second ago, Dr. Ritchie, about not looking away, because I agree with that. And I think that it's not only not looking away, like look at what is actually happening as closely as you can overseas right now with the victims that this war is taking. Because when it's so far over there, it's really easy to forget when you grow up in a country where you don't have to worry about bombs dropping on you, the reality of that. And so look at that footage and familiarize yourself with it so you don't end up like emotionally separating yourself to what's going on and then becoming complacent.
Well said. Very well said. All right, we got more on the other side. Indisputable, stick and stay. Indisputable is still the fastest growing news show in America compared to CNN, Fox News, and 30 other networks. We tell the truth on Indisputable because the truth is indisputable. We go places that other news media outlets refuse to go. When there were human rights abuses happening at the Victorville prison, guards and members of the community contacted us.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
It really doesn't take much to be a trusted voice. All it takes is to be fearless, report on matters, be an advocate. I called it the bullpen intentionally because it's a place of preparation. We present individuals who may have an opposing view, so we debate. Sometimes we interview individuals because their stories deserve to be heard. A survivor of significant police misconduct and his attorney. We covered this story earlier, and to remind you of the horror of one man being shot at damn near 100 times by the police. We take time on this show to showcase the temper tantrums of Karens in the wild. We do this not because we want to see people's emotional outbursts in public, but because these incidents are emblematic of a bigger societal issue taking place across the nation, and it has to be checked. My friend, my big homie, attorney at law, Benjamin Crump.
I just want to thank you, man. Educated, articulate brothers like yourself speak truth to power. It makes a great difference in changing the landscape in America. So
listen, no matter what you do, don't allow the politics of ideology to evaporate the soul that still exists inside of you. They don't stop, I don't stop. Racism won't stop, I won't stop. Systemic bias won't stop, I won't stop. People still need health care, so I won't stop. People still need criminal justice systems reformed, so I won't stop. You won't stop either. What up? Welcome back. All right, hell of a story. Division I student athlete wins her athletic competition in track, gets stripped of the title, and we have the story. Here it is.
Hi, my name is Leanne Ortiz Blanco, and as many of you know, this past weekend I was stripped from my title that I earned and worked so hard for. And I'm going to tell you guys my story. I ran the prelims, which is the first race you need to run in order to qualify for the finals. After that, about like 15 minutes later, I ran the finals where I was named D1 state champion and got the record for the Division 155 meter dash.
So, here we go. Girls final for the dash, and it's going to be Ortiz Blanco.
We'll see if she gets it. See if it holds to the record.
720.
Got it.
She got it. Division record and reigning Division 1 champion.
Then after, the officials had told me I was disqualified for bad sportsmanship. What bad sportsmanship did I commit? They had said that before the prelims, I had pushed my block holder. I then told the officials that that was a complete lie. I would never and have never put my hands on anybody. I asked if we could review any video footage, anything to prove that I never put my hands on anybody. He then said video footage cannot be used against officials' ruling according to the rules book. My family and I were outraged. I had just been stripped of my Division 1 record title. Not only does that guarantee me a spot in New England's, but that goes far beyond for my track career. When we asked for answers, a member of the committee had said if me and my family kept on, we would be escorted out. One of the committee staff had informed us that the decision was already made final by the whole entire committee. Ironically enough, the complaint had came from the runner-up who directly benefited from my loss. I was so confused because the only interaction I had with that girl was a high five and a good job before the finals. I was denied a fair chance to defend myself. At the meet and even after, when my mom emailed the superintendent and principal of both schools, the athletic directors of both schools, and the NHIAA to get some type of reasoning and answer out of this.
It's a damn shame. Put it up full mass. We are now on it. I need specific names. I need specific information as it relates to the governing authorities who made the decision and those who are not going to remedy the decision based on the fact we are still here. And I will provide an update. In New Hampshire, Salem High School track athlete, Ms. Blanco, Ortiz Blanco, claimed she was unjustly stripped of a win. She explained via her Instagram, my name is Leanne Ortiz Blanco. I am an Afro-Latina student athlete at Salem High School, competing at the Division I level in New Hampshire track and field. I am speaking out regarding the recent decision by the NHIAA to strip me of my state championship title and record. This decision was made following allegations that I firmly maintain, are inaccurate and unjust. On the 8th of February, 2026, I competed, in the Division I state championship. I advanced from the preliminary round, won the finals, broke the Division I state record, and was awarded my state champion medal. After the competition, I was disqualified for alleged, quote, unsportsmanlike conduct before my preliminary race. I firmly deny this allegation. Video footage from the starting area shows me adjusting the blocks before the race with no contact between myself and other athletes. As a darker-skinned Latina student athlete, I know that athletes of color often face bias and unfair treatment, even when their performance speaks for itself. But this issue goes far beyond athletics. In today's society, Hispanic and Black individuals frequently face scrutiny and have their accomplishments questioned or dismissed. I believe this situation was not treated with the same care, transparency, or fairness that any athlete deserves, highlighting the ongoing need for equity and accountability in high school athletics. I am respectfully requesting transparent review of all evidence, including video, clarification of the rules cited, explanation of the procedural basis for disqualifications. This is about fairness, due process, and integrity in high school athletics. I stand by my performance and will not allow my name to be dragged as an athlete. And I will say this, if you do not have an attorney, talk to your parents and get one. If you all need assistance at coordinating contact with an attorney. Indisputable will happily provide that bridge for you. I'm sorry this happened to you. Thank you for standing up. You're a true leader and champion, and this will not define you. This will become a catalyst to the greatness that you already are. All right, dear brother, thoughts here.
I mean, the only thing I have to add is that just the power of social media with this whole thing, which goes to what you were just saying. I think with social media, there's just constant horrors all the time. And this is an example of a young person using social media to their advantage. The irony that they're not allowed to use video footage when video footage clearly makes their case for them is deeply ironic, because they're now going to Instagram and going to TikTok. And I hope she gets some resolution to this as soon as possible.
Very well said. All right, we'll bring you updates as updates develop. Okay. One of the saddest stories you will hear, a neighbor decides to call the police, and it results in a man's wife and child being deported. Here it is.
Antonio, look, man, I am so very sorry what happened. I had no idea that was going to happen, man. It just
you know exactly what you're doing. You know exactly what you're doing. Exactly.
No, I didn't. How could I see this coming? How could
you know why? You know why I know? You know why I know? Because I told you. We talked a few weeks ago. I said, I'm doing a lot of work on my house right now. I said, if I'm too late and too loud at night, I said, please come talk to me and tell me I will take care of it to be more quiet. What do? You did not come talk to me. You called the police instead, and now my wife and daughter are gone.
That was just a really bad judgment call on my part. I'm really sorry. It was late at night.
You've always had it out for us. You've always had it out for us. You never wanted us in the neighborhood. You're a liar.
Oh, come on, man. I don't mind you being in the neighborhood. I love Mexican people. I've got all kinds of Mexican friends. We had a Mexican lady that cooked and cleaned for us. She was wonderful.
There it is right there. That is exactly what I'm talking about. That right there, what you just said, is what I've always known about you. Always.
Oh,
always.
Come on, man. Oh, come on.
You're a liar. You're a damn liar.
Okay. But he is asking, are you willing to let him off the hook?
No. You know why? Because this man, he's supposed to be my neighbor, my friend. What did he do? He tear my family apart. My wife and daughter are gone now. Okay? I will never let this man off the hook, because this man does not see me for what I am. He sees me as a gardener, a construction worker, a cleaning person. He does not see me as a human, and I will never, ever let him off the hook, ever.
Put it up for him, Mass. I'm going to explain what you just heard. The heated conversation between the man and his Latino neighbor took place on a segment on 102.9 KBLX radio. Both men had called in to discuss the matter, but things quickly went south as the neighbor called out the heartless man for calling ICE on his own family. His actions resulted in the neighbor's family supposedly being deported. The radio host then interjected, tried to cool things down, although both expressed sympathies to Antonio. They claim the guilt-stricken man has called in to apologize. Antonio, understandably, doesn't accept the apology and accuses the man of being a liar. I don't know how I would respond if somebody who's supposed to be my friend and my neighbor did something that resulted in my wife and my child no longer being in my home. Our sympathies are with you, sir, and prayers of positive intent. All right, dear brother, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this guy saying it was a bad judgment call. Seems like there's a lot of those going around right now. I think ICE itself was a bad judgment call. If it were me, I wouldn't let this guy off the hook either. I don't buy the whole aw shucks routine. These are folks who I think become radicalized online. They take that radicalization and they point it at their neighbors, which I believe should be a pretty sacred relationship in best case scenarios. You look out for your community. So shame on this guy, and good for the gentleman for standing up to him.
That's right. Well said. Dear brother, always fascinating to have your analysis. Thank you for being on the show. Tell people how they can follow you. Check out your great work.
You can check out my Substack at substack.com/Elliott Morgan. There will be articles on there at some point, or Rebel HQ, where I'm making a lot of videos about ICE lately. So if you're curious about that, feel free to check it out. But thank you for having me.
Thank you, my friend, as always. All right. Well, remember, take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.